Hi, everybody. I'm back with the 13th episode, if I remember right. And this is again chapter 2, as per me, on narcissism. And yeah, I took long time to be here again. I don't know what was stopping me, whether it was the weather, because Delhi is was very cold. From last 2 days, we have good sun. Mm, and I don't know, maybe multiple things, maybe, yeah, I was also encountering a narcissist and I was dealing with that person. And I was not feeling good. I was studying a lot. I was uh, exploring and understanding narcissism so that I don't go wrong in this very episode. Also, I was listening to one or two of my podcast episodes, and I was thinking whether why they did and what they did has become a little dark, or maybe you don't understand it. I'm not sure, but if I have to choose one, I think not energy wise, it's not a vibrant episode, but yeah, it's one of my favorite episodes till now. Yes. So, yeah, let's start. And it is, again, it is completely unprepared because right now I was going out and then I thought maybe I can squeeze in and I can just take this time out, do this episode, and get over with it. In a sense, because, sometimes we preach that we should not strive perfection, but somewhere deep within, Hmm. We want to be perfect, we are preparing, and we are waiting for that perfect moment to happen, just fall from the sky, maybe. So, I'm not sure. So, I was doing exactly that. And today, what I can say is today is a very lovely Saturday morning here. Uh, Date is 29th of Jan, time is 1:13 p.m. So, yeah, if you have gone through my last to last, I think it was 11th episode which we did on narcissism, and the topic was name of the episode is narcissism at its best. Now, in this episode, I don't know what will be the name of the episode. I usually decide the name after the episode is over. So, today we are going to talk about again narcissism. And in the last episode, we focused more on first, we defined narcissism, and second, we touched areas of mom being a narcissist. If your primary caregiver, your caretaker, is a lady or mom like figure, so how it would impact you and how you can, I'm not sure whether we discussed how you can cope with it. I don't remember. So, but in this episode, I think we will broadly and majorly talk about the male figure in your life. Dad, like, because every problem begins from the childhood. Every story begins from the childhood. Yes. And yesterday I watched a movie again on narcissism. When you plan to do something or when you are working hard on something, so I was working hard on this chapter, on this episode, and I encounter a narcissist. And what else I do? I happen to watch a movie I care a lot. You know, if you have watched that movie, it is all about sociopaths and narcissists. And when childhood goes wrong, completely wrong, I must say. So, what happens? So, it's a good movie, and I've also written the movie review. It's there on the Instagram and Facebook page of Blink of an Eye. If you're not following Blink of an Eye page, you can follow if you wish to. So, yeah. But only like or appreciate things you really like, okay? Not because I want to become a celebrity and you are pressurized to like it. No, don't do that, please. So yeah, so let's start. So what I did is I asked few questions and I've answered those questions. It's like answering to my own self. So my question is, uh, So, this is about the narcissistic being. How can it affect who you are? Is a very important question. Now, what I think is, if a person is self centered, vain, does not take criticism well, demands perfection, and goes into rages, he is a narcissist. Daughters of narcissistic fathers may feel they never get enough attention. Sons of narcissistic dads may feel they can never measure up, because narcissistic dad always want their son to do something really big, better than them. And because they have a self image, self proclaimed hero they are, so it's a larger than life picture of themselves. So it's like they are never satisfied with whatever their son does. And that's the irony of life. All these successful people will never have a successful kid. Why? Not because they don't have the genes did not go wrong, just because they have been suppressed from the very childhood. The expectation was very high. So, to survive a narcissistic father, a child should keep expectations low and never let that dad determine their self worth. When I'm doing child and adolescent counseling and I encounter so many kids, I go down for a walk, I meet so many kids, they have become my friends, and I also get to talk to few kids during the counseling session, and I see them mm, how suppressed they have been all these years, because they don't have the freedom to talk what they feel, what they like, because it's not being suppressed intentionally in all the cases. In many cases, loads of love, loads of care, loads of everything has suppressed it, the burden of so much of compassion, so much of empathy, everything, has suppressed who they are. So yeah, I see them suffering every day. Okay, so T.S. Eliot said once, half the harm that is done in this world is due to people who want to feel important. They don't mean to do harm, but the harm that they cause does not interest them, or they do not see it, or they justify it because they are absorbed in the endless struggle to think well of themselves. I love it. I love this. The narcissistic person is who he is. He is Mr. Self-assured. He doesn't need your assurance, He is complete. At least he feels complete. He seemed to have it all: charm, success, popularity. He never seemed to be plagued by self doubt, unlike you. He's the life of the party. He knows everyone. He make things happen. You couldn't get enough of him. In personally, he is pathetic, but in the exterior world, he's a hero. He's a champion, People admire him. The most social guy around, Yes. How kids experience narcissistic traits, or you can also say the most helpful person around, you know. So, yeah. So, next question, what I felt was how kids experience narcissistic traits. So, come to think of it, did your father or father like, so his is the child, did your father or father like confidence border on arrogance? Is it possible that you were raised by someone with narcissistic trait? Okay, so as I said, the primary caregiver, whosoever he was a narcissist. We take our families for granted. It's natural that we do. Each family is a miniature sociological experiment with its own set of unwritten rules, secrets, uh, nuisance behavior pattern. We take our mom and dad for granted. In some cases, I have friends, I have people around who always thought they are God. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong in thinking that they are God. They are God on this earth. But in the end, they are human beings. They can go wrong. They don't have a roadmap for their life or your life. So they can fundamentally go wrong. Yes. So we just assure that all fathers were like him. We have usually the daughters, sons also in many cases. They have an image of a father. Father should be like this, mother should be like this. And all our life, we are chasing that figure. And even that happens with the couples these days. Every other person wants to fall in love, whether there is less love, no love, bad love, worst love. Everybody wants to fall in love. Everybody wants a soulmate. Everybody wants a perfect partner. Everybody dreams of being in a perfect life. And what we are fighting for, we are not fighting with anybody. We are fighting with our own dreams. We are fighting with the mirror, the image we have built through the years. And through these years, what we have built is hard to break, because as I think I mentioned in How to Forgive Yourself, the same thing, that you're not ready to break that dream, that sense of identity which you have created around the dream. You want it by hook or crook. That doesn't mean you become bad. You don't become bad. You're good. You have a mask, you're wearing a mask. We are all wearing a mask. I want to be good. I want to be nice. I want to hear good things about me. I'm humble. I'm caring. I'm very good. So, but yeah, I want somebody to love me, to woo me. Why not? We think like this. And we are so sweet. So why this can't happen to me is a very big question. And to accept that no, this is not happening to me, this is not the right person for me, be it your dad, be it your mom, be it anybody, is a very, very difficult acceptation of life. If you accept and if you refuse to insist, because we are all insisting on getting something we cannot, your life suddenly will become better. Trust me. So now I'll talk about some signs to identify if the father figure or dad or father or a male character around you has narcissistic tendencies, or was an outright narcissistic, or is. Because what happens when we are around someone who is narcissist in our background or in our house or in our surrounding, and we are regularly in touch with them, slowly we have a bonding with them. Somewhere deep within, we are in love with them. They love us. Or maybe because even if we hate them, there are certain things which they provide, and we cannot afford to not have it. Things which we need to survive in this life, they have those things. We can't say no. And even if we pull the courage and we say, okay, today I'm going to say no, our parents will come in between, our loved ones will come in between, someone will come in between, and they will say, oh, no, don't say no, don't ruin this relationship, because that person, that narcissist person, has become a provider in your life, and you need some supplies for living in this life. Survival. Yeah, so survival factor is very important, and that is why we are all surrounded by narcissists. So, what are these signs? So, if you have someone who is self-centered, pretty vain, someone has an inflated sense of self-importance, like when I have come, you should do this, you should do that, you should cook before I enter the house, you should give me this, you should ask this, you should be prepared for everything. I'll just come and I'll just will start doing this or will start doing that, is a narcissist who is expecting a lot from you, expecting a lot and lot from you. Okay. Uh, of course, he feels he is superior. Of course, he feels he is entitled to only best. Okay. And if you think that that person used people for his own good, he can, or you have seen or you have witnessed them taking advantage of others to the point of exploiting them. Okay. If that person was or is charismatic, everyone wanted to be around that person, and he relished admiration from others. He loved being in spotlight, and the positive reinforcement that came from being the center of attention is what he wanted. Then it's a very big sign. Grandiosity is alluring, and so, where his fantasies of success, prestige, and brilliance, you have also witnessed that person exaggerating his achievements and his ambitions and goals bordered on unrealistic expectations. Okay, everything what he plans to do, dreams of doing, wants you to do, expect from you, everything is unrealistic, that cannot be done. So everybody around him is pushing. The person who doesn't take criticism well, a person who often cuts those people out of his life or try to hurt them, who try to show a mirror. Okay, the person's rage was or is truly scary. Some people get mad and yell a lot. Some could hurt you with your anger, with his, some could hurt you with his anger, his in this case, because we are talking about a male figure. And that hurt is cutting to the bone. That person could be aloof, unsympathetic. These kind of people have a hard time experiencing empathy. They lack empathy. They can't think. If you are in pain, they can't think. They can't reciprocate. Think means they can't feel it. They can't visualize it. They can't imagine it. Okay. So there is less empathy. Don't expect them to react in a positive way or call you or ask, oh, are you good? Are you okay? Do you need any help? No, they can't do that. They can't. They often disregard and invalidate how others feel. Of course, he was exquisitely sensitive to what he felt. What he felt for himself. Only for those things he is sensitive. Dad wasn't around a lot. You must have heard this from many kids. Dad was there but was not there. Grandfather was there but was not there. Something. If grandfather was the primary caregiver, I don't know. Every situation is very, very specific and unique. That person got a lot of gratification outside the family. Other father figure hung out with their families a lot more. I am saying father figure because I don't want to typecast father or dad, because I won't say I have a very awesome good dad. No, because I would say he accepts me and I accept him. That's a better thing to say. Yes. Plus, this person craved excitement, seems to be more concerned by what others thought of him rather than how his own kids felt. He did what he wanted when dealing with you. He did things with you that he enjoyed, maybe because he enjoyed doing it more than you. There's a trick. If your dad or your father figure is playing a game with you and you think, oh, he loves me, maybe he is playing because he loves more than you that game. This person wanted you to look great to his friends, colleagues. You were most important to him when he could brag about you. This is sad, but this is true. You couldn't really get what you needed from him. Even if he's your dad, he provided on material level, or maybe your husband. You felt deprived on a more subtle level. You could get his attention and affection sporadically and only when it worked for him. He will give you attention, but in the end, it has to work for him. If we go through these traits, some may hit home while others may not be relevant. Some may ring as very true while others as less so. Hence, narcissistic traits are very different from narcissistic personality disorder. Now, what is the difference between having narcissistic trait and having narcissistic personality disorder? If you ask me, I would say everybody, each one of us has a dark side. It depends on whether we are focusing on that dark side or are we fighting with ourselves to be on a brighter side. Narcissistic personality disorder or any disorder becomes a disorder only when it interferes with your personal life or professional life. Okay, when you have crossed all the limits and your personal life is disturbed, your professional life is disturbed, you don't have people around and you don't often hear from them that they love you or they like you. And if you insist and if you're going to tell me while hearing this, listening to this podcast episode, if you tell me, oh, because I am very specific, I have better choices, or I am very particular, or I don't like them, or this happened or that happened, no, 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 I'm not getting into that conversation. The simple thing is, maybe you talk less, maybe you talk more, maybe you talk specific. Whosoever you are, you're just a human being. I'm just a human being on this earth. And I think the population is something around 7 billion, and I can't say that any person I encounter is not good or every person I encounter is not good. And I can't have it, even a handful of people who say, yes, we know you are good and we love you. It doesn't need a daily conversation or a daily WhatsApp message or a daily I love you, you love me. No, 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 it doesn't. But if you can't have those handful of people, then I think each one of us should work on ourselves. That is very important. So that becomes NPD then, when it starts interfering. Okay. Many narcissistic traits are commonly found in most of us. As I said, there's nothing disturbed about that. Sometimes it's hard to tell whether a person is narcissistic or merely has a high self regard, like I just explained. Uh, you have a high self regard, but it should not interfere with people around you. Okay, those people who are wishing others on their birthday or New Year or asking whether you're doing good or how are you, do you need help, or do you mind having a coffee with me or going out with me, or can we go and watch a movie? They're not fools on this earth, they're not stupid people, they're very intelligent. So why should we stop ourselves from being nice, from being kind, Have we learned all lessons? I'm not saying you compromise with your choices. Don't do that. But think about it. Why it's not happening? Okay? So help yourself. I'm also helping myself. So let's do it together. So I would say if I have a very high self-regard, then I think we can lower our guards a bit. A bit can be done, yes. So, narcissism, I would say, it isn't about having high self confidence, it's about a love for oneself that has morphed, you know, when you love yourself, but that love has been like, has gone wrong, totally wrong. The fourth edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM 4TR, defines NPD as a pervasive pattern of grandiosity in fantasy or behavior, need for admiration, lack of empathy, being envious, arrogance, disregard of personal boundaries. This is coupled with their failure to realize that others do not exist merely to meet their needs. Now, the next question is how a narcissistic father can hurt his son or daughter. Narcissistic parents often damage their children. For example, they may just disregard their boundaries, manipulate their children for their own benefit, you know, by withholding affection. You know, some kids are like they need lots of attention or affection, and the parents play with the affection. It's not that they don't love them, they love them. But while loving their kids, they are manipulating their kids. They're not truthful. If you ask those parents, are you truthful in this moment when you're loving your kid? They would say, no, I am not. I'm very sure about that. So, as I said, they disregard their kids' boundaries, manipulate them by withholding affection, and that's really cruel if you ask me, and neglect to meet their children's needs because their needs come first. So I can do this with you. I think I do this. Sometimes I tell my daughter, okay, I'll play with you, but first I want to do this. So I think, yeah, I have to check on that. Because the image is so important to narcissists, they may demand perfection from their children. And I think, yes, at times I demand perfection from my kid, yes. The child of a narcissist father may feel pressurized to ramp up their talents, looks, etc. You know, here the kid is trying to please dad or the father figure, you know. The entire world has fallen in love with that father, but this kid is struggling to fall in love with his or her own dad. Well, it costs them if they fulfill dad's wishes and also if they don't. Now, how daughters of narcissistic father, let's go specific. It was about son and daughter. Now, let's go specific. Daughters of narcissistic fathers feel. So, and whatever we are talking here is all backed by research, data, everything. So it's not a kind of story getting cooked here. No. So, daughters of narcissistic fathers, they describe being unsatiated when it comes to getting what they need from their father. As a young child, he would comment on how beautiful you were. But as you grow up, he would start saying, oh, you are gaining weight, or you're doing this, or you're not doing that. Okay? The daughter carries these concerns, feels vulnerable, and worried that she'll be dumped from someone else, you know, because the first reflection of the partner, you know, the image of how that partner can be comes from the dad. She can take on the narcissistic role or will avoid commitment. Both ways, she will lose. So, now what happens here? Basically, if we have encountered narcissism in our lives early on, what happens is whether usually what we do, because we learn parenting lessons from our parents, or genetically we crib about our parents, about our upbringing, what was not right throughout our life. In the end, we are the same parent. We are doing same things to our own kids. Okay. So when we are around narcissist, what we do, whether we either we become one like them or we attract someone like them. Now, why do we attract? We attract someone like them because familiar devil is better than unknown devil, because the unknown devil is in the imagination, but this familiar devil, I know how to deal, at least I think I know how to deal with this familiar devil. So I attract because there is, it's like a wire, it's like a crisscross wire, everything is entangled. Hatred, emotions, love, everything entangled in between. So that person, even if he has less love, has lots of traits, which gives me a nostalgic feeling, and I love that nostalgic feeling. Who doesn't want to go home after a hard day's work? So that is why we attract those people again back in our life. And why will she lose? Because if she becomes one, she will make other anybody's life miserable, whether partner, friend, anybody. That person will leave him and go, leave her and go, in this case, not him, because we are talking about daughter. And if she has attracted another narcissist, then that person will again make her life miserable, and this time she'll be like, oh my god, it's too much, I can't take it. A daughter needs her dad's adoration. It validates her and helps her internalize her specialness. And once this is deprived, we have daughters who has mm, those who have weak psychic, I would say. Okay, we say, oh, I have friends, I myself, everybody says, oh, we are very sensitive. No, we are not very very sensitive. Sensitive is a random word, I would say. Everybody uses it, like we use narcissism. I would say we have a weak psychic. Healthy fathers give their girls that gift of adoration, feeling of special, everything, that validation is a gift from dads. Now let's talk about son of narcissistic father. They feel they can never measure up. They feel so competitive that even no. So what I mean to say is, dad, the parents, the male figure, feels so competitive with his own son that he has a habit of competing. So he's also competing with his own son. He doesn't pay attention to you, or he didn't pay attention to you. You may have accepted defeat. And well, if you seek advice, I would say you should never outdo your dad. Let him be what he is. There's no point arguing with them, there's no point getting into fights with them. This is, if by now you have understood NPD. NPD is a disease, it needs counseling, it needs lots of, uh, treatment, I would say. So don't waste your time, save yourself, save your energy. At times, you always wanted to defeat him. Of course, we want to defeat him to get his attention and some semblance of fatherly pride. You somehow never feel good enough. Even when you succeed, you still feel empty and second rate. Girls want their dad to feel validated. Boys need their dad to believe in them. That's the trick. Why so many childhood days go wrong? Now, another question which came in my mind was how to deal with a narcissist. I would say accept them, who they are, and give up on that father figure or the figure you have in mind and you want to see him, and you have already wasted so many years fixing that photo frame. where your dad or that father figure's picture is not fitting, just give up on that thought. Don't ever dream of changing them. Don't ever dream of working on them. Okay, avoid those, I would say, bad moments. Avoid those hard moments. Okay, uh, and first and most important thing, even if you're 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, doesn't matter. Don't let them hurt you. If you want something from them, convince them that it will be of their benefit. Now, this is a trick. If you tell them that dad, if you do this, then you see, it will be you. Everybody will say you are very good. This will be very good for you. You should do this. I think it will look very good on you. Those kind of conversation. If you want something from them, they will. Then they will support you. Then they will tell you, okay, 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 let's do it. Okay, or you should do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. If the relationship is toxic or dangerous, what happens? As I said, save yourself, don't indulge in conversation, don't try to prove a point, predict their action, and take proactive actions. Never let them value your self worth. Never share your sensitive information with them. Don't trust them because it will backfire, whatever you do. At times, for peace, especially if you are dependent on them, then you may have to comply because it's not worth fighting always. Of course, if he is a provider, you will have to comply. But now you know the trick, okay? So you have stopped getting affected from what they are doing. You are not seeking approval from them. Usually, narcissists get away with their behavior because others slow down and let them take the lead. Sometimes you may need to adopt an authoritative stance and firmly impress upon him that his demeaning attitude is unacceptable. But this is like declaring a war, you know. If we do this, it's war. But that's the only way. If you were seeking an answer as to how to stop them, then you have to declare war. What I think is we should not be vulnerable of anybody's anger or rejection. We can definitely pity them, they need this. Someone who is in constant need of compliments, attention, validation, best thing we can do is pity them. Staying in touch with your own parents is different, but don't let them judge you or don't let them ruin your second half of life, at least. Look for soulmates around, treasure them. Don't let your baggage ruin your life. Recovering from narcissistic parents ultimately means replacing one's internalized negative maternal or paternal voice with self nurturing. Now, do narcissists suffer? After all these questions, I was like, does something happen to them? Do they ever stop? What happens to them? So, I would say they unconsciously suffer from their own childhood wounds because even they had a narcissistic caregiver. And ultimately from the negative effects on interpersonal relationships engendered by his or her narcissistic defenses. Now, how do you become a narcissist? You mirror your primary caretaker, power play, you seek to exert power over others, and you also have antisocial personality disorder. And what is antisocial personality disorder? At its core, it is nothing but a anger disorder. Okay, so if anybody wanted to know what is antisocial personality disorder, at the core there is lots of anger. So people who suffer make others suffer. That's the motto. I have suffered, you have to suffer. I used to walk 30 kilometers, you also have to walk. I used to make 20 chapatis, you also have to make 20 chapatis. So if you have a question like, is NPD inherited? So sadly, I would say yes, it is inherited. We inherit the genetic predisposition, but there's still a choice with us what we want to do. So, extreme actions taken by pathological narcissist can be catastrophic. Dr. Aubrey, the associate professor of psychology at Minnesota's St. John's University, plugged Osama bin Laden's biographical data. And you know what he found? He concluded the presence of millions unprincipled narcissist syndrome plus many more things. Uh, yes. And how would you define antisocial personality disorder in detail? So, I would say it is common to sociopathy, psychopathy, disocial personality. Okay, so basically, there is deep seated hostility features against anybody, God, universe, his, him, her, anything, vengeance against the whole universe. This went wrong, that went wrong. And from where, yeah, overall complete life, you can say, family, culture, these people, if you ask the major trait, they are atheist. They don't believe in God, they don't believe in universe, they don't believe in karma, they don't believe in anything. And but if you ask them, if you confront them, they'll give you logic. They will show you 10 papers, 10 documents, 10 things that proves that there is no God. So I told you, don't get in a conversation with them. You will fail. It's okay. Failing is good, but you know what will happen? Your energy will drain and you can't do anything. You'll be tired. So there's no sense of conscience or guilt even after committing a crime in them. It's like deeper feelings belonging to their long denied and dissociated true self, but frozen deep beneath the thick, cold ice of defensive false self. Now, what is the relationship between APD and NPD? What is APD? Antisocial personality disorder. NPD is narcissistic personality disorder. APD is the extreme end of NPD. Sociopaths like Charles Manson feels that world owes them for rejecting them so many times. They feel they can never be convicted. They are headstrong. They think nobody can prove them wrong. Even there are lots of uh, ways of identifying whether you have NPD, lots of technologies, advanced technologies, everything is there. But they are con artists. They can con the biggest psychologist, psychiatrist, everybody, and they cannot be convicted. That's true. So and right now I'm talking about the extreme. We are talking about APD, which is the extreme of NPD. Now we are talking about the world in general. What is happening in this world? So is there a narcissist or sociopath within us? This was the question which came in my mind. I wanted to know, so I've asked myself, and I'm answering that. Each of us harbors the innate capacity for evil, yet we prefer obvious reasons to deny it because the reality is disturbing. Who wants to know? Who wants to see oneself as a devil in their own mirror? It's very difficult. It's like confronting oneself. So, unconsciously, we choose to become someone who is good and we project that potentiality onto others. We start blaming others. We say, this person is bad, I am good. That means we refuse to acknowledge. I'm loving this, because all my hard work, I can see it coming right across. I'm loving this chapter, and I was thinking whether, oh my God, how it will be, how will it go, will everything be fine, but in the end, I'm loving this. So, for some, a consciously chosen mask for displaying moral, religious, or spiritual persona serves the purpose. And at times, for worse things, political dirty tricks to cover up or deny the accused works. Another striking similarity between narcissistic and sociopathic individuals is their extraordinary cunning and native intelligence. They are very cunning, they are very intelligent. Okay, maybe a first grader in school, because they're very intelligent. Not one who uh, burns midnight oil. No, 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 no. One who studies less does more. Not all, not all. TNC applies, not all. The ability to deceive or manipulate others towards one's own self serving ends is one of the hallmarks of sociopathy and an expression of the profound pathological narcissism underlying it. Now, why it happens? When you have a pissed off 5 or 10-year-old, so I'm a 5 or a 10-year-old who is pissed off with a poor impulse control, living in an adult body with the freedom and power and resources. Resources means money, everything, to do just as I please to do. I have so what have I become? I have become an extraordinary dangerous person capable of the most heinous act on this earth. In case of world leaders or catastrophic evil deeds, I can do anything. So just let's imagine if there was a person behind COVID, you know. So that person would have been diagnosed with APD. We must remember what Sigmund Freud made clear, that during the most crucial phases of personality development in childhood, profound damage or fixation can be done not only by getting too little love, attention, gratification of needs, but equally by receiving too much of these positive influences. Children naturally need love, attention, affection, support, and recognition, but they also need firm limit setting. Now, can you hear this? My daughter is, yeah, I'll just take a pause. Yeah, so as you heard, my daughter, she couldn't wait for a minute. That happens. So, okay. So, for the first time, I had to pause and I'm just, again, after opening the door, I have started again. So, yeah, so we must remember what Sigmund Freud made clear, that during the most crucial phases of personality development in childhood, profound damage or fixation can be done not only by getting too little love, attention, or gratification of needs, but equally by receiving too much of those positive influences. Children naturally need love, attention, affection, support, and recognition, but they also need firm limit setting, boundaries, appropriate and consistent consequences for bad behavior, and discipline, as developmental psychologists call it, optimal frustration. Now, what is optimal frustration? It's similar. We had a live demo today. So when you tell your daughter or your son that, or anybody, that you can't do this or you can't do that, if you try to discipline them, and of course they refuse, that's what childhood is all about. Even I refused as a child. So when they refuse it, and what is happening? There is a kind of frustration which is building up because you're trying to limit them. You're trying to be firm. You're trying to set the boundaries. It is called optimal frustration for kids. And it's good for them to go through this so that they don't become a narcissist when they grow up. This is how children learn to delay gratification. She could have waited. persevere at tasks, develop inner strength and independence, and they also adapt to reality principle. Now, what is reality principle? Reality principle is a structure which limits setting and discipline is lacking. The seeds of psychopathic narcissism finds fertile ground in which to grow. So, you know, you must have seen families, or maybe you have such a family where everything is like haywire. Anybody does anything, anytime. Somebody comes and keeps their stuff here and there, and there's no logic, there is no discipline, there is no system, there is no time, there's no respect for time. Now, what happens there? It's like a jungle. And why that jungle should never be entertained? Because when the discipline is lacking, when there is no structure, when there is no limit setting that you can do this and you can't do that, then the seeds of psychopathic narcissism find fertile grounds. And later on, when the world will stop you from doing something, you will turn into a narcissist because you are not used to listening, no, being structured, or anything. Now, I loved this episode and I am closing now because I think this chapter 2 has already conveyed or said what it intended to do. So if you love this, do write to me at Preeti, PRRITI @blinkofan.in. I would love to hear from you and also your views, even if you didn't like it, why you didn't like it, or anything. Also, you can share your experiences with me. And if you have any questions while you were listening this podcast episode, so definitely I would like to answer those questions. So thank you so much. Have a great day and enjoy each and every moment of your life. Thank you.